The Ultimate Three Idiots Saga, a journey of dreams, rebellion, and unforgettable friendship. Welcome, dear friend, to Hidden Pages. Tonight, we invite you to step beyond the ordinary, to open a book not bound by paper, but by the shimmering threads of a captivating story. This is the tale of three idiots, a cinematic saga that has charmed hearts and challenged minds across the globe, inviting us all to rediscover the magic of learning and the power of true friendship. Imagine a world where dreams are often silenced by expectations, where education can feel like a rigid cage rather than a soaring flight. It is into this world that our story plunges, following three young men whose lives become intertwined, leading them on a journey that defies convention and redefines success itself. From the bustling corridors of a prestigious university to the quiet whispers of the human heart, their adventure is a vibrant tapestry woven with laughter, tears, and a fierce, unyielding spirit of rebellion. Why does this particular tale resonate so deeply within us? Perhaps because it speaks to the hidden dreamer in us all, the quiet voice that urges us to pursue excellence for its own sake, to cherish loyalty above all else, and to find the courage to carve our own path, even when the world demands conformity. As we unveil each chapter of their unforgettable journey, you will not only witness the unfolding drama, but also feel the pulse of their struggles, the warmth of their camaraderie, and the exhilarating triumph of their spirits. Prepare to be enchanted, to be inspired, and to walk alongside characters whose wisdom will linger long after the final scene. Come, let us turn the first page of this extraordinary story. Let the adventure begin. Chapter 1. The Echo of a Lost Friend. The air in the airport, usually thick with the murmur of departures and the scent of hurried goodbyes, was suddenly pierced by the frantic trill of a phone. Farhan Qureshi, a man whose life now revolved around neat schedules and polite smiles, was just about to board his flight. Yet one unexpected call was about to shatter his carefully constructed present and hurl him back into the tempest of a defining past. The voice on the other end belonged to Chatur Ramalingam, a name that, for Farhan, conjured not warmth, but the sharp, unsettling image of a rival from their college days, meticulously organized, fiercely competitive, and entirely predictable. But Chatur's voice, brimming with an almost unbearable, boastful triumph, carried words that instantly froze Farhan in his tracks. "I found him! I found Rancho!" Rancho. The name hung in the bustling air like a forgotten melody, a secret key unlocking a vault of vibrant memories. For 10 long years, Rancho had been a phantom, a cherished legend whispered between Farhan and their other dear friend, Raju Rastogi. A decade. Imagine searching for a missing piece of your soul, a defining presence, for such a vast, silent stretch of time. The very thought sent a jolt, sharp as electricity, through Farhan's veins, overriding all sense of duty, all reason. Chatur, however, ever the schemer, had a motive far grander than a simple reunion. Years ago, a mischievous bet had been cast between them, a youthful challenge thrown into the uncertain future. Who among them would ultimately become the most successful? Now Chatur, swollen with self-importance, believed he held the winning hand. But Rancho, with his boundless wit and uncanny foresight, had woven one final playful trick. He had sent Chatur on a meticulously crafted misdirection, a wild goose chase to a distant, empty location, guarding his true whereabouts with a sly, silent smile that only his real friends could truly understand. Without a moment's hesitation, Farhan's carefully cultivated airport demeanor crumbled. He abandoned his flight, his luggage, his meticulously planned future, propelled by an urgency he hadn't felt in years. He dialed Raju, his fingers trembling with excitement. And where was Raju? This was a twist even Rancho couldn't have scripted. Raju, usually burdened by responsibility, stood at the very threshold of a new life, his own wedding. The joyous cacophony of celebration surrounded him, the scent of flowers and the murmur of blessings filling the air. But the name Rancho was a siren song, a forgotten promise that sang louder than any wedding bell, any familial expectation. With a flash of his old spirit, a surge of adrenaline, Raju turned his back on the ceremony, on convention, and simply ran. He had to meet Farhan. He had to find Rancho. And so, the journey began. Farhan and Raju met, their reunion a whirlwind of shock, disbelief, and a thrilling, almost desperate sense of purpose. They leaped into a dusty car, the engine humming beneath them, and set off on a frantic cross-country dash. This wasn't just a physical journey, it was a desperate race against time, a quest to reclaim a missing piece of their history, a search for answers only Rancho could provide. Their minds, for so long preoccupied with the present, now stirred with the dust of 10 forgotten years, pulling them inexorably back to the vibrant landscape of their youth. As the road stretched out before them, Farhan, the quiet observer and aspiring storyteller, began to narrate their shared history. His words became a bridge, allowing the present to fade as the past rushed in, vivid and compelling. This is where our narrative truly unfolds, dipping into the exhilarating, often chaotic, and utterly life-changing flashbacks that illuminate their defining years at the legendary Imperial College of Engineering, ICE. Think of it as a magical door swinging open, inviting us, dear reader, into a hidden chapter of their lives, a chapter that forever altered the paths of 3 unlikely friends. ICE was no ordinary university. It was a towering fortress of academia, its very architecture speaking of rigid rules and even higher expectations. It was a place where dreams were often shaped, but sometimes, tragically, suffocated. Its domain was ruled by the formidable Viru Sahasrabuddhe, a man whose chilling nickname, Virus, was whispered with a mix of fear and grudging respect. He was a figure of absolute authority, a believer in unyielding traditions, rigid discipline, and a stern, almost punitive educational philosophy that cast a long, unyielding shadow over every student. Within these strict, imposing walls, we first encounter young Farhan. His spirit, though gentle and artistic, felt inexplicably trapped. He longed to capture the silent beauty of the wild through his camera lens, to breathe life into the world as a wildlife photographer. Yet, the heavy, well-intentioned hand of his father guided him down a different, preordained path, forcing him to study engineering. It was a choice that left a quiet ache in his heart, a constant whisper of what might have been. Then there is young Raju Rastogi. His eyes, often wide with anxiety, reflected the deep anxieties of a family steeped in poverty. He carried a heavy burden, the weight of their hopes and dreams resting entirely on his narrow shoulders. He must succeed, must secure a lucrative, respectable job to lift them from hardship. Fear, a relentless, icy companion, whispered doubts in his ear, making him cautious, superstitious, and deeply worried about failing. And then, like a sudden burst of color in a monochrome world, enters young Rancho, the very heart of our story. He is unlike anyone they have ever known, a true anomaly. Brilliant, yes, but not in the way of dusty textbooks and memorized formulas. He dances to his own rhythm, questions every single rule, and challenges every assumption with a disarming smile. His laughter is infectious, his ideas revolutionary, and his spirit fiercely independent. He is a disruptor, a catalyst, a vibrant spark in a world that demands conformity, a young man determined to learn for the sheer joy of it, not for marks or ranks. These three unlikely companions, drawn together by fate and the shared confines of their small hostel room, find their lives intertwining. They are different, yet perfectly balanced, a symphony of contrasting personalities. They will laugh until their sides ache. They will argue fiercely. They will face formidable challenges that threaten to break them. And through it all, Rancho, with his unorthodox wisdom, his unwavering belief in following one's heart, and his gentle encouragement, will begin to chip away at the walls around Farhan and Raju, slowly but surely showing them that learning can be a joyous adventure, and life a masterpiece waiting to be painted if only they dared to pick up the brush. The frantic search for Rancho in the present is more than just a hunt for a friend. It is a profound journey back to the very lessons that shaped them, a quest to unlock the hidden pages of their own destinies that Rancho, their lost companion, helped them write, changing their lives forever. Chapter 2. The Fortress of Knowledge. The imposing gates of the Imperial College of Engineering, ICE, loomed large, a monument to the relentless pursuit of academic excellence. Yet for many, it felt more like a fortress than a welcoming sanctuary of knowledge. Its very architecture, stoic, traditional, almost unyielding, seemed to echo the rigid philosophy of its formidable principal, Viru Sahasrabuddhe, universally known by his chilling nickname, Virus. Stepping through those gates was not merely entering a university, it was crossing a threshold into a highly competitive world governed by strict rules, unbending hierarchies, and an almost suffocating pressure to conform. Virus was not just a principal, he was an institution himself, a man whose every word carried the weight of absolute authority. He believed fiercely in the conventional, in the power of rote memorization, and in the unforgiving race of academic life. To him, students were like machines, meant to be programmed with facts and formulas, their minds shaped into precise, predictable tools for the industrial world. He famously preached, "Life is a race. If you don't run fast, you'll be like a broken egg." His office, a stark, intimidating space, featured a chilling visual, a barber's razor, a constant reminder of his promise to shave off any student who dared to fail, symbolically cutting them off from their dreams. His presence was omnipresent, his voice a constant demanding drone that instilled both fear and a reluctant respect. The very first day at ICE was designed to be an unforgettable initiation, a brutal ritual meant to establish dominance and break the spirit of any newcomer. This was the infamous ragging ceremony. Senior students, emboldened by tradition, would gather the fresh-faced first-year students, stripping them of their confidence and their dignity. In one particularly humiliating moment, the seniors forced the new students to stand in their underwear, facing the wall, as a form of welcome. The air was thick with tension, with the quiet sobs of overwhelmed freshmen and the mocking laughter of their tormentors. It was a baptism by fire, designed to instill fear and enforce the pecking order. It was in this very first terrifying night, that the paths of our three protagonists truly converged. Farhan, burdened by the weight of his father's expectations, felt the immediate constriction of the college's rigid atmosphere. He carried his dreams of photography like a secret, fragile bird caged within his chest. Raju, whose family's hopes rested entirely on his shoulders, was almost paralyzed by fear. Every rule, every test, every expectation felt like a colossal weight, threatening to crush his fragile dreams of pulling his loved ones out of poverty. He was cautious, superstitious, and deeply, desperately afraid of failing. And then there was Rancho. He was different. He entered this rigid world not with trepidation, but with an almost audacious curiosity, a mischievous glint in his eye. While others trembled, Rancho observed, his mind already questioning the absurdity of it all. As the seniors' taunts escalated, Rancho, with his innate brilliance and fearless spirit, found a clever, unexpected way to turn the tables, humiliating the bullies using an ingenious application of basic physics. It was a moment of pure, unexpected triumph, a flash of intellectual rebellion that shocked everyone. This defiant act, executed with a playful grin, instantly marked Rancho as an anomaly within the highly structured environment of ICE. It was an act that simultaneously earned him the grudging admiration of the timid Raju and the thoughtful Farhan, and more importantly, it earned him the immediate simmering ire of Virus. From that moment, a silent, intellectual battle began between the unconventional student and the traditionalist principal. Rancho saw the college as a place for true learning, for fostering curiosity and understanding. Virus saw it as a factory, producing compliant, high-scoring graduates. Their shared hostel room, small and unassuming, became their sanctuary, a tiny island of warmth and rebellion within the cold, vast fortress of ice. It was here, in the late-night hours, after the long, often dull lectures, that their true education began. Here, they found solace, shared their fears, whispered their dreams, and slowly but surely forged an unbreakable bond of friendship. They were three very different souls, but in Rancho's infectious curiosity and defiant spirit, Farhan and Raju found a spark of something new, a hint of freedom, a guiding light in the overwhelming pressure cooker of ice. Chapter 3. The Rebel with a Smile. Rancho. The name itself became a whisper, then a legend, within the hallowed, rigid halls of the Imperial College of Engineering. He was not just a student, he was a phenomenon, a vibrant splash of color in a world painted in muted grays. His arrival was like a fresh, unpredictable wind blowing through dusty corridors, instantly challenging every established norm and igniting sparks of curiosity that had long been dormant in the other students. He was, quite simply, a rebel with an infectious smile. From his very first lecture, Rancho demonstrated that his mind operated on a different frequency. While other students diligently scribbled notes, copying every word from the blackboard, Rancho questioned. When the stern professor asked for the definition of a machine, the class dutifully recited the textbook answer. A machine is any combination of bodies so connected that they may be used to transmit force, modify motion, and do work. It was the expected, the correct, the memorized answer. But Rancho, with that characteristic mischievous glint in his eyes, offered his own definition. A machine is anything that reduces human effort. He then pointed to simple examples, a zipper, a pen, making the complex concept instantly relatable and understandable. This was not about scoring marks. It was about truly grasping the essence. His unconventional approach extended far beyond simple definitions. He saw the flaws in the rote learning system, the endless memorization that stifled genuine understanding. He believed that fear was the greatest enemy of learning. "All is well," he would often say, a simple phrase, almost a mantra, that he would repeat to calm himself and his friends in moments of intense pressure. This wasn't just a coping mechanism, it was a philosophy, a belief that if you faced challenges with a calm mind, solutions would eventually appear. He challenged the very authority of virus, their formidable principle, not with aggression, but with logic, with daring acts of defiance, and with a mischievous humor that often left virus fuming. Rancho's influence on Farhan and Raju was transformative. Farhan, whose spirit felt caged by his father's dreams of engineering, found a kindred soul in Rancho. Rancho encouraged Farhan to explore his passion for photography, to consider a life beyond the blueprints and circuits. He spoke to Farhan about the importance of following one's heart, even if it meant defying parental expectations. He showed Farhan that true success lay not in the job title, but in the joy of pursuing what you truly loved. This was a radical idea in their world, where career paths were often dictated by societal pressures and financial security. For Raju, burdened by the immense financial pressures of his family, Rancho was a beacon of calm amidst his constant anxiety. Raju was a walking embodiment of fear, fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of disappointing his family. He was superstitious, always wearing lucky rings and performing rituals to ward off bad luck. Rancho, with his boundless optimism and his practical solutions, helped Raju confront his fears. He taught Raju that true courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. He encouraged Raju to believe in himself, to shed the weight of expectation, and to see opportunities rather than just obstacles. Rancho's lessons were rarely confined to the classroom. He taught them about the principles of physics by mischievously wiring the hostel for a late-night cricket match. He demonstrated engineering concepts by building absurd yet functional contraptions. His method was simple. Learning should be practical, enjoyable, and driven by curiosity, not by the dread of exams. He made them question, he made them laugh, and he made them see the world not as a set of problems to be solved, but as a fascinating puzzle waiting to be explored. His presence was like a living challenge to the rigid structure of ice. He skipped classes that bored him, argued with professors he respected, and never hesitated to point out the flaws in the system, even when it meant risking the wrath of virus. He was an enigma, a free spirit who effortlessly aced exams without conforming, proving that true intelligence was about understanding, not just memorizing. His quiet rebellion was contagious, slowly but surely inspiring Farhan and Raju to find their own voices, to question their own fears, and to dream beyond the conventional paths laid out for them. Rancho was not just a friend. He was a mentor, a catalyst, and the vibrant, beating heart of their transformative journey at ICE. Chapter 4: Brotherhood Forged in Fire. Within the rigid walls of ICE, where competition was a sharp-edged sword and conformity the silent rule, a remarkable bond began to bloom. Farhan, with his gentle soul and a photographer's heart; Raju, perpetually anxious and burdened by the weight of his family's hopes; and Rancho, the fearless maverick whose mind danced to its own rhythm. These three unlikely companions found their lives intertwining in a small hostel room that became their sanctuary. It was here, amidst the late-night studies, whispered dreams, and shared defiance, that their brotherhood was forged in fire. Their friendship wasn't born of quiet agreement. It was born of shared laughter and daring escapades. Rancho, with his boundless curiosity and disdain for mindless rules, often led the charge. Their early adventures included breaking into the dean's office, not for mischief, but to alter the scores of a struggling student, a playful act of rebellion against a system that often crushed the weakest. These moments, filled with nervous giggles and the thrill of almost being caught, solidified their camaraderie. They were a team, a small island of rebellion against the vast ocean of Ice's strictures. One unforgettable night, a scene of pure, unadulterated chaos, perfectly illustrated their bond. It was the night of the annual ragging ritual, where senior students terrorized the newcomers. A terrified junior, forced to stand in his underwear, was mocked and humiliated. Rancho, ever the protector, couldn't stand by. With a mischievous twinkle in his eye, he found a clever way to turn the tables on the bullies. Using the principles of electrocution, a shocking yet harmless display, he managed to send the arrogant seniors scurrying. The sheer absurdity of the moment, the sight of their tormentors scrambling in fear, created a potent shared memory for Farhan and Raju, sealing their loyalty to this extraordinary friend. Rancho's most profound influence, however, wasn't in grand gestures, but in the quiet, consistent ways he nurtured their spirits. For Farhan, Rancho became the quiet advocate for his true calling. He saw the passion for photography in Farhan's eyes, a light that the engineering textbooks could not ignite. Rancho gently, persistently, encouraged Farhan to stand up to his father, to voice his own dreams, to embrace the path that truly made his heart sing. "Go do what you love," he would urge, "and excellence will follow." This simple truth was a radical departure from the common wisdom that demanded financial security above all else. Rancho showed Farhan that happiness wasn't found in a pre-written script, but in authoring one's own life story. For Raju, Rancho was a lifeline in a sea of fear. Raju was burdened by the immense weight of his family's poverty, his every decision clouded by the desperate need for a high-paying job. He was consumed by anxiety, superstitious rituals, and a paralyzing fear of failure. Rancho, with his infectious optimism and pragmatic approach, patiently taught Raju to shed the layers of fear. He demonstrated that true courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. He encouraged Raju to embrace risk, to trust his own abilities, and to focus on his inherent talent rather than the looming threat of disappointment. Rancho's presence was a constant reminder that life was not merely a series of hurdles to be cleared, but an adventure to be embraced. Their room became a vibrant hub of unconventional learning and deep discussions. While other students toiled over rote memorization, Rancho would transform abstract concepts into vivid, real-world examples. He made them question, he made them debate, and most importantly, he made them think for themselves. It was in these shared moments of intellectual awakening, of challenging the very foundation of their education, that their brotherhood became unbreakable. Rancho was not just a friend. He was the catalyst who dared them to dream, to defy, and to ultimately discover the hidden strength within themselves. Their friendship, forged in the crucible of Ice's rigid system, became a testament to the power of human connection, a bond that would defy time and distance. Chapter 5. Whispers of the Heart's True Path. As the years unfolded within the sprawling campus of ICE, the lives of our three friends deepened, touched not only by the demands of their studies, but by the tender stirrings of the heart and the heavy weight of looming life choices. For Rancho, whose mind was always open to new experiences, love entered his world in the form of Pia, the spirited and compassionate daughter of the formidable virus. Their connection was instant, sparked by their shared disdain for superficiality and their mutual appreciation for genuine understanding. Pia, unlike her rigid father, saw beyond the rulebook, valuing kindness and true intelligence above all else. Their romance blossomed amidst clandestine meetings, secret notes, and a shared understanding of a world that needed more heart and less rigid conformity. Their bond added a new, tender layer to Rancho's already vibrant life. But while love brought joy to Rancho, the relentless march towards graduation brought mounting pressure to Farhan and Raju. For Farhan, the internal conflict was a constant, gnawing ache. His father, a loving but traditional man, had charted a clear course for him, a respectable engineering career. Farhan, however, found his soul yearning for the wild, for the quiet beauty captured through a camera lens. He devoured books on wildlife photography, his imagination soaring with images of distant jungles and exotic creatures. Every engineering lecture felt like a prison, every formula a chain, binding him to a future he didn't truly desire. The whispers of his heart, once faint, now grew louder, urged on by Rancho's steadfast belief in following one's passion. Farhan knew a confrontation with his father was inevitable, a storm brewing on the horizon, but the thought filled him with dread. For Raju, the stakes were even higher, almost unbearable. His family's very survival, their escape from the clutches of poverty, rested squarely on his shoulders. His ailing father, his unmarried sister, the crushing weight of debt, every burden was a constant, visible presence. Raju believed that only a top-tier engineering job, a secure position, could save them. This belief fueled a suffocating anxiety, making him superstitious to a fault, clinging to every lucky charm and ritual in a desperate attempt to control his fate. He was haunted by the specter of failure, fearing that any misstep would plunge his family deeper into despair. His dreams were not his own. They were the collective hope of his entire family, a heavy mantle he felt compelled to wear. Rancho, ever the beacon of unconventional wisdom, saw the struggles of his friends with clear eyes. He patiently challenged Farhan, not by criticizing his father, but by empowering Farhan to speak his truth, to explain his dreams with conviction. He reminded Farhan that courage wasn't about shouting, but about quiet conviction. For Raju, Rancho offered not just words of encouragement, but practical solutions and a calming presence. He tried to break Raju's cycle of fear, showing him that true security came from within, from confidence in one's abilities, not from external rituals or the fickle hand of luck. These years at ICE, marked by academic pressure, budding romance, and the profound weight of life-altering decisions, solidified their bond. They were navigating the complex currents of young adulthood, each facing their own unique battles. Rancho, the carefree genius, found tenderness in Pia's love. Farhan, the dreamer, struggled with the courage to claim his own path. And Raju, the dutiful son, fought against the crushing fear that threatened to paralyze him. Their shared experiences, their late-night discussions, and Rancho's unwavering support became the bedrock of their friendship, shaping them into the men they were destined to become, even as the world outside ice continued to demand conformity. Chapter 6. Lessons Beyond the Books. While the hallowed halls of ice echoed with the drone of lectures and the frantic scribbling of notes, Rancho's true classroom lay far beyond the confines of textbooks and examination papers. He was a maestro of unconventional wisdom, transforming dry theories into vibrant, living knowledge. His spirit was one of pure, unadulterated curiosity, and he believed fervently that learning should be a joyous adventure, not a tedious chore driven by fear of failure. For him, the world was a vast laboratory, and every challenge an opportunity for discovery. Rancho's methods were as refreshing as a cool breeze on a sweltering day, often clashing with the rigid, old-school teaching of ice. He bypassed the traditional cram, copy, forget method that Virus so fiercely advocated. Instead, Rancho encouraged Farhan and Raju, and indeed anyone who would listen, to truly understand, to question, to experiment. He showed them that knowledge wasn't just about memorizing definitions, but about grasping concepts so deeply that they became second nature, applicable to any real-world problem. One memorable instance involved a complex engineering problem. While his classmates struggled with equations, Rancho found a simple, elegant solution by envisioning the mechanics in a practical, real-world context, almost as if he were building the machine in his mind. He wasn't just solving a problem, he was demonstrating a philosophy. "Don't study to earn, study to learn," he would often advise, his eyes twinkling with genuine belief. "Pursue excellence, and success will follow, chasing you like a shadow." This was a revolutionary concept in an institution that prioritized ranks and lucrative job placements above all else. His lessons weren't confined to engineering. Rancho was a master of life hacks and philosophical insights. When Raju, paralyzed by fear of failing, found himself unable to move, Rancho introduced him to the simple yet profound mantra, "All is well." It meant all is well, but delivered with a unique, reassuring inflection. This wasn't about ignoring problems. It was about confronting anxiety with a calm mind, believing that solutions would emerge if one remained composed. He demonstrated this during their exams, writing the phrase on Raju's arm, a small, secret charm against the crushing pressure. Raju, initially skeptical, found that the mantra provided a surprising sense of calm, allowing him to think clearly where panic once reigned. Rancho's practical approach often landed him in trouble with the college authorities, especially Virus. He dared to challenge professors in class, not with disrespect, but with logical arguments that exposed the flaws in their rote learning methods. He believed that students should have fun, that laughter was essential for true learning. His antics, from cleverly rigging an electrical current during a ragging ritual to using a broken toilet to demonstrate a complex engineering principle, were never just pranks. They were always, at their heart, powerful, memorable lessons. He taught them that fear was the true barrier to innovation. He encouraged them to embrace curiosity, to experiment, and to trust their own ingenuity. He showed Farhan that his unique perspective as an artist could make him a better, more insightful engineer. He helped Raju chip away at his superstitions, encouraging him to rely on his own intellect and hard work rather than lucky rings. Rancho's influence was like a gentle revolution brewing within the rigid walls of ice, He created a small, vibrant ecosystem of learning and joy, fostering an environment where ideas flourished, not just facts. He was the catalyst that ignited the flames of true understanding in Farhan and Raju, guiding them toward a path where passion and purpose held far greater value than grades and conventional success. These were the true lessons, etched not in textbooks, but in the heart of their unforgettable friendship. Chapter 7. A Heavy Burden, a Brave Stand. As the academic year at ICE marched onward, the unspoken burdens carried by Farhan and Raju grew heavier, pressing down on their spirits like unseen weights. For Raju, the weight was almost unbearable, a tangible thing that seemed to cling to his every step. His family's very survival, their escape from the relentless grip of poverty, rested squarely on his slender shoulders. His ailing father, whose weak heart now required expensive medication, his unmarried sister, whose dowry seemed an insurmountable barrier, the looming debts. Every burden was a constant, visible presence, a shadow that stretched across his days and filled his nights with anxiety. Raju believed with every fiber of his being that only a top-tier engineering job, a secure and prestigious position, could save them all. This deep-seated conviction fueled a suffocating anxiety, making him intensely superstitious, clinging to every lucky charm, every ritual in a desperate, almost frantic attempt to control his destiny and ward off the ever-present specter of failure. He was haunted by the fear that any misstep, any poor grade, any missed opportunity would plunge his family deeper into despair. His dreams, he felt, were not his own. They were the collective desperate hope of his entire family, a heavy mantle he felt compelled to wear, even if it suffocated his own aspirations. Meanwhile, Farhan's struggle was a quiet, internal ache, a constant battle between duty and desire. His father, a loving but traditional man, had meticulously charted a clear, respectable course for him. A successful engineering career, a pathway to stability, and societal approval. Farhan, however, found his soul yearning for a different kind of wildness, for the quiet majesty captured through a camera lens. He devoured books on wildlife photography, his imagination soaring with images of distant jungles, exotic creatures, and breathtaking landscapes. Every engineering lecture, every formula, every blueprint felt like a prison, a chain binding him to a future he didn't truly desire. The whispers of his heart, once faint and easily ignored, now grew louder, urged on by Rancho's steadfast belief in following one's passion. Farhan knew that a confrontation with his father was inevitable, a storm brewing on the horizon, but the very thought filled him with a paralyzing dread. How could he disappoint the man who had sacrificed so much for him? Rancho, ever the beacon of unconventional wisdom, observed the silent battles of his friends with clear, compassionate eyes. For Raju, he offered not just words of encouragement, but practical solutions and a calming presence. He tried to break Raju's cycle of debilitating fear, showing him that true security came from within, from confidence in one's own abilities, not from external rituals or the fickle hand of luck. Rancho encouraged Raju to shed the layers of anxiety, to believe in himself, and to see opportunities rather than just obstacles. He believed Raju possessed innate talent, if only he could quiet the noise of his fears. For Farhan, Rancho became the quiet advocate for his true calling. He saw the genuine passion for photography in Farhan's eyes, a light that the engineering textbooks could never ignite. Rancho gently, persistently, encouraged Farhan to stand up to his father, not with anger, but with conviction. He urged Farhan to voice his own dreams, to explain his desires with clarity and respect, to embrace the path that truly made his heart sing. "Go do what you love," Rancho would often advise, his eyes twinkling with genuine belief, "and excellence will follow." This simple truth was a radical departure from the common wisdom that demanded financial security above all else. Rancho showed Farhan that happiness wasn't found in a pre-written script, but in authoring one's own unique life story. The climax of Raju's anxiety came during an internship interview. Terrified of jeopardizing his family's future, he answered questions with such fearful indecision that he failed miserably. The disappointment was crushing, a heavy blow to his already fragile spirit. Seeing his friend's despair, Rancho knew he had to intervene. In a bold move, Rancho tricked Raju into confronting his fears head-on. He secretly arranged for a top company to interview Raju at his home, forcing Raju to attend in a dhoti, a simple, traditional garment signifying a raw, unpretentious confrontation with his destiny. This unconventional setup, far from the formal interview hall, pushed Raju to speak from his heart, to truly be himself. It was a risky, almost audacious act by Rancho, but one born of deep friendship and a profound understanding of Raju's internal struggle. It was a moment that set the stage for Raju's eventual brave stand against his own ingrained fears, an act of rebellion against the chains of expectation, subtly guided by the unwavering wisdom of his extraordinary friend. Chapter 8. Cracks in the system's armor. The rigid, unforgiving system of the Imperial College of Engineering, so fiercely upheld by Virus, was designed for strength, for efficiency, for producing top-tier graduates. Yet, beneath its polished exterior, cracks began to appear, exposing a darker truth. A system that valued numbers over human spirit, conformity over creativity, could tragically lead to despair. The pressure cooker environment, where every student felt the immense weight of expectation, sometimes pushed young minds to their breaking point. One of the most heart-wrenching episodes that exposed these fatal flaws centered around a bright yet timid student named Joy Lobo. Joy was a talented inventor, a true innovator whose passion lay in creating groundbreaking aerial vehicles. He had poured his heart and soul into designing a unique drone, a project he believed would revolutionize his field. But Joy, like many others, found himself caught in the relentless academic machine. He fell behind on his assignments, not out of laziness, but because every waking moment was dedicated to perfecting his ambitious invention. When the crucial project deadline arrived, Joy, desperate for an extension to complete his masterpiece, pleaded with Virus. He explained his passion, his dedication, the potential of his invention. But Virus, a man devoid of empathy for anything that deviated from his rigid academic schedule, cruelly refused. "Deadlines are deadlines," he declared, his voice cold and unyielding. "There are no exceptions." He dismissed Joy's plea, scoffing at his passion, prioritizing the institutional rules above the budding genius. The rejection was brutal, a dismissive blow that shattered Joy's fragile hope. The very next morning, a chilling silence fell over the hostel. The vibrant campus, usually bustling with students, now felt heavy with an unspoken dread. The news spread like wildfire. Joy Lobo had taken his own life. He had jumped from the roof of his hostel building, his dreams, his passion, his very existence, crushed by the system that was supposed to nurture him. The drone, his beautiful invention, lay tragically broken beside his lifeless body, a poignant symbol of shattered potential. The tragedy sent a ripple of shock and grief through the student body. For Rancho, Farhan, and Raju, it was a devastating blow, a stark, painful reminder of the human cost of Virus's unyielding philosophy. Rancho, his heart heavy with sorrow, directly confronted Virus, accusing him of driving joy to despair. He argued passionately that the pressure, the lack of empathy, the focus on ranks instead of understanding, was turning the college into a death trap for sensitive, creative minds. But Virus, unmoved, merely dismissed Rancho's accusations, blaming Joy's weakness rather than acknowledging any fault in his beloved system. The cracks in the system's armor became even more evident in Raju's own struggles. Burdened by his family's desperate poverty, Raju was constantly terrified of failure. He became a living embodiment of the fear that Virus cultivated, a walking bundle of anxiety and superstition. When he failed a critical internship interview, his spirit plummeted. He felt he had let his entire family down. In a moment of sheer, overwhelming despair, feeling cornered by his circumstances and the relentless pressure, Raju attempted to take his own life. He jumped from the hostel window. The scene was one of terrifying chaos and heartbreak. Farhan and Rancho rushed to his side, their faces etched with horror. They managed to get him to the hospital, their prayers echoing through the sterile corridors. Raju's life hung by a thread, a fragile flame flickering in the darkness. As he lay in the hospital bed, his body broken, his spirit shattered, Virus, with his cruel, cold logic, visited him. He offered Raju a choice: betray Rancho by testifying against him in an inquiry, or face being expelled, ruining his last chance at a job. Raju was caught in an impossible dilemma, a terrible choice between betraying his friend and saving his family's future. It was during this dark, agonizing moment that Raju, for the first time, found a spark of the courage that Rancho had always urged him to find. He understood that true freedom wasn't about avoiding failure, but about shedding the chains of fear itself. He made a brave stand. When the inquiry finally came, Raju, despite his injuries and his profound fear, refused to betray Rancho. He chose friendship, integrity, and his own dignity over the false promise of security offered by Virus. It was a moment of quiet rebellion, a testament to the profound influence of Rancho's philosophy. This act, though it cost him his degree initially, was the first step towards his true liberation, proving that the human spirit, even when seemingly broken, held an incredible capacity for resilience and defiance against a system that sought to crush it. The fortress of knowledge was indeed strong, but the unbreakable spirit of its students was proving to be even stronger. Chapter 9. The Song of All Is Well. As graduation loomed on the horizon, the pressure at ICE reached a fever pitch, transforming the campus into a crucible of anxiety and frantic preparation. The final exams, the culmination of years of relentless study, were whispered about with dread. For Raju, who had bravely chosen integrity over betrayal in the inquiry, the stakes were impossibly high. His defiance had cost him his degree, a devastating blow that threatened to plunge his family back into the abyss of despair. He faced an uphill battle, a last chance to prove his worth and secure his family's future, relying solely on a special re-exam. In these darkest hours, Rancho became Raju's anchor, a steadfast beacon of hope and pragmatic guidance. He knew that Raju's talent was immense, but his greatest enemy was his own pervasive fear. Rancho didn't just help Raju study, he helped him unlearn fear. He taught Raju to meditate, to breathe, to face the blank pages of his exam with a calm mind, reciting their simple yet powerful mantra, "All is well." It was more than just words, it was a philosophy, a quiet rebellion against panic. This mantra, whispered and believed, became Raju's shield against the storm of anxiety, allowing him to think clearly, to access the knowledge that fear had previously locked away. Meanwhile, a different kind of storm brewed for Pia, Virus's daughter. Her father, blinded by his rigid adherence to tradition and societal status, had arranged her marriage to a pompous, materialistic man named Suhas. Suhas, obsessed with expensive watches and superficial displays of wealth, represented everything Pia and Rancho despised. Pia felt trapped, her heart yearning for the genuine connection she shared with Rancho, a love that transcended material possessions and societal expectations. She saw Suhas as a symbol of the very conformity she fought against, a stark contrast to Rancho's free spirit. As the day of Pia's wedding approached, a sense of quiet desperation settled over her. Rancho, who understood her plight, knew he had to act. He orchestrated a daring plan to help Pia escape, not just from the wedding, but from a life she didn't choose. He sent her a secret message, a simple phrase that only she would understand, a code for freedom. This plan was fraught with risk, a direct confrontation with the authority of Virus. But Rancho believed in Pia's right to choose her own happiness. The very night before Pia's wedding, a moment of profound significance unfolded for the trio. Chatur, their old rival, true to his character, chose this night for a grand display of his success. He threw a lavish party, celebrating his own achievements since college, eager to gloat about how his rote learning and conventional path had made him rich and powerful. He invited Farhan and Raju, expecting them to be humbled to witness his triumph. He proudly recited a speech he had memorized years ago, a testament to his belief in sheer memorization over true understanding. But Rancho, ever the mischievous genius, had a plan. He replaced Chatur's meticulously memorized speech with a hilariously inappropriate one, filled with vulgar words and nonsensical phrases. The scene that unfolded was pure comedic chaos. Chatur, oblivious, delivered the offensive speech to an assembly of shocked dignitaries, his perfectly memorized words creating an absolute disaster. The prank was not just for laughs, it was a brilliant, satirical exposé of rote learning, a stark demonstration of how meaningless words could be without genuine comprehension. It was a moment of delicious revenge, a testament to Rancho's belief that true intelligence was about understanding, not just reciting. Amidst the chaos and the personal crises, the friends navigated their final exams. Raju, employing Rancho's mantra and newfound courage, faced his re-exam. He wrote with clarity, his fear replaced by a quiet confidence. Farhan, inspired by Rancho, finally found the courage to pursue his photography, even if it meant confronting his father. The song of All Is Well had now truly become their anthem, a melody of hope and resilience that would guide them beyond the walls of ice and into the vast, unpredictable journey of life itself. The stage was set for their graduation, but for these three, the real lessons were yet to unfold, outside the confines of the traditional classroom. Chapter 10. Miracles in the Storm. The night was a whirlwind of urgent events, a symphony of desperation and unlikely heroism that would forever etch itself into the memories of Rancho, Farhan, and Raju. It began with Pia's daring escape. With a heart pounding like a drum, she followed the secret message Rancho had sent, abandoning her lavish, unwanted wedding to Suhas. She left behind the diamonds, the expectations, and the rigid traditions, choosing freedom and love over a life of gilded conformity. Rancho, with Farhan and Raju as his trusty accomplices, helped her slip away, a silent act of rebellion against her father, Virus's iron will. But their escape was soon interrupted by a new, unforeseen crisis. A frantic call reached them. Pia's older sister was going into labor. Her baby was coming, and unexpectedly, during a torrential downpour, the city was plunged into a blackout. The hospital was inaccessible due to flooded roads and power outages. The situation was dire, the baby was in distress, and every moment was critical. The joy of Pia's escape quickly morphed into a terrifying race against time and nature. In that small, dark room surrounded by fear and despair, Rancho, the ever-resourceful genius, became their guiding light. He realized they had to deliver the baby themselves. There were no doctors, no nurses, only 3 engineering students, a frightened mother, and Pia, who possessed some basic medical knowledge. It was a scene of pure, unadulterated chaos, but Rancho's mind, always calm under pressure, began to work. He remembered a principle from their engineering classes, vacuum suction. With incredible ingenuity, Rancho improvised. He instructed Farhan and Raju to find a simple vacuum pump, the kind used for sucking out clogs. They frantically searched, their hands trembling, finally locating one. Then, using a car battery for power and a few improvised connections, Rancho fashioned a makeshift suction device, a desperate tool cobbled together from everyday objects. Pia, guiding him with her medical knowledge, directed his actions. The air crackled with tension. It was a miracle of engineering in the most primal of settings, the very principles they learned in a sterile classroom, now used to save a life. The birth was difficult, fraught with peril, but through their combined efforts, a tiny, fragile baby was brought into the world. The cry of the newborn filled the room, a sound more beautiful than any music, a testament to human ingenuity and the power of collaboration. It was a profound moment, a raw, undeniable proof that true education wasn't about memorizing definitions, but about applying knowledge to solve real-world problems, especially when lives hung in the balance. This was Rancho's philosophy brought to life in the most dramatic way possible. Their triumph, however, was interrupted by the arrival of Virus himself. He had tracked Pia down, enraged by her defiance. He burst into the room, his face contorted with anger, ready to unleash his fury. But the sight that met his eyes silenced him. He saw his daughter, his students, exhausted but triumphant, huddled around a newborn baby. He saw the improvised equipment, the undeniable evidence of ingenious problem-solving. For the first time, Virus witnessed the true power of practical knowledge, of learning that transcended textbooks and ranks. In that moment, a profound transformation began to unfold within Virus. The hardened principal, who had always believed in rigid rules and the superiority of bookish intelligence, saw the living, breathing miracle before him. He saw the very principles he taught, applied with brilliance and compassion, to save a life. The cold, unyielding exterior of Virus began to crack, revealing a flicker of humanity. a grudging respect for the unconventional methods he had always dismissed. The birth of his grandchild, facilitated by the very students he had scorned, became a powerful, undeniable testament to the value of Rancho's philosophy. It was a night of miracles, not just for the newborn, but for the hardened heart of a man who finally began to understand that true wisdom often lay far beyond the pages of a textbook. Chapter 11. The Puzzle Unraveled. With the miracle of the baby's birth fresh in their minds, a triumph of ingenuity over despair, the three friends, Rancho, Farhan, and Raju, had witnessed the rigid virus crack, his stern facade momentarily softened by the sheer humanity of the moment. But even amidst this profound victory, the 10-year-old mystery of Rancho's true identity still lingered, a tantalizing puzzle waiting to be solved. And a decade-old bet, made by the ever-smug Chatur, was about to finally reach its dramatic conclusion. The present-day journey, which had begun so frantically at the airport, now led Farhan and Raju to a remote and seemingly ordinary village school. This was the address Rancho had left for Chatur, a deliberate misdirection that had sent their rival on a pointless detour. Chatur, convinced he had found Rancho, arrived brimming with arrogance, clutching a framed photo of himself, eager to rub his success in Rancho's face. He launched into a lengthy, rehearsed speech, mocking Rancho's unconventional ways and proudly declaring himself the victor of their college bet. But what Chatur, and initially Farhan and Raju, found at the school was not the Rancho they knew. Instead, they met a different man, a kind, elderly gentleman who introduced himself as Phunsukh Wangdu. This man, the real Phunsukh Wangdu, was a renowned scientist and innovator, a genius who had hundreds of patents to his name. He explained that the Rancho they knew, the friend who had changed their lives at ICE, was actually Chot, his former house help. Chot had taken Phunsukh Wangdu's place at ICE, attending college under his name, fueled by an insatiable thirst for knowledge that his own poor background had denied him. Phunsukh Wangdu himself had never attended college. He was a self-taught prodigy who built his own school for children who truly loved to learn, much like Chote. The revelation hit Farhan and Raju like a tidal wave. Their beloved friend, the one who had shattered their fears and opened their minds, was not who they thought he was. He was not the wealthy, privileged Rancho from a powerful family. He was an imposter, a borrowed identity used to access an education denied to him. Disappointment, confusion, and a touch of betrayal flickered through their minds. Had their entire friendship been built on a lie? Chatur, meanwhile, oblivious to the deeper truth, continued to gloat, believing he had finally won the bet against his old rival, Rancho. He mocked the simple school, the children who learned with joy, seeing only poverty and failure where true innovation thrived. He handed them a legal bond, a written agreement for the bet, eager to claim his prize. But the final twist, the true stroke of Rancho's genius, was yet to be revealed. The elderly Phunsukh Wangdu, seeing their confusion and Chatur's endless conceit, pointed them towards a road, suggesting that perhaps the real Rancho was just beyond at another grander location. Driven by a mix of lingering hope, stubborn determination, and a desperate need for answers, Farhan, Raju, and even the self-satisfied Chatur followed the new directions. The path led them to an even more remote, beautiful place, nestled amidst breathtaking landscapes. This was the home, not of the false Rancho, but of the man who was Phunsukh Wangdu, the true, brilliant mind behind all the patents, the inventor, the genius scientist. And there, standing amidst a group of young, eager students, his eyes sparkling with the same wisdom and mischievous warmth they remembered, was their long-lost friend. He was indeed Funsuk Wangdu, a name he had adopted as his own, having truly become the ingenious scientist he once pretended to be. He was still the same curious, unconventional soul, now teaching others to learn for the joy of it, embodying the very philosophy he had preached. The man they knew as Rancho was actually the genuine Punsuk Wangdu, having adopted the persona of his wealthy namesake to pursue an education. The brilliant irony was that he became the person he had pretended to be. The puzzle was finally solved, and the revelation was profound. Their friend was not just a smart student. He was a revolutionary thinker, a true genius who had sacrificed his identity to learn and then created his own path to teach. The bet, the chase, the years of longing, it all culminated in this moment of breathtaking truth. Chapter 12. The Grand Revelation, Life's True Calling. The final scene, bathed in the golden light of revelation, was a powerful crescendo, bringing the extraordinary saga of three idiots to its deeply satisfying conclusion. Farhan and Raju, standing face to face with the man they had searched for a decade, now truly saw him. He was no longer just the Rancho from their college days, or the Chot who had borrowed an identity. He was Funsuk Wangdu, the true genius, the innovative scientist, the passionate educator they had always known him to be, now living his truth in the most authentic way possible. Their initial shock and confusion quickly gave way to immense relief and overwhelming joy. The man who had changed their lives was not a lie. He was a profound truth, a living embodiment of the philosophy he had taught them. He was not successful by traditional metrics when they met him, but he had pursued excellence, and indeed, success had chased him, finding him in his own unconventional way. And what of Chatur, the arrogant rival, still gloating about his supposed victory in the decade-old bet, stood bewildered. He had confidently approached Funsuk Wangdu, ready to collect his prize, still believing he was Rancho's superior. But the true Funsuk Wangdu, the scientist who had patented hundreds of inventions, emerged. Rancho, with a playful smile, extended his hand, simply saying, "Hello, Chatur." Funsuk Wangdu. The words landed like a thunderclap. Chatur, who had always chased grades and superficial success, found himself utterly defeated. He had underestimated Rancho's genius, his wisdom, and his unique definition of success. The man he thought he had surpassed was, in fact, the legendary inventor, a true giant in his field, far beyond Chatur's narrow scope of ambition. The bet was won, not by wealth or status, but by integrity and true brilliance. The conclusion of their journey brought into sharp focus the profound life lessons woven throughout their story. Pursue excellence, not success. Rancho, now Punsuk Wangdu, was the living testament to this mantra. He never chased marks or high-paying jobs. He chased knowledge, understanding, and the joy of creation. In the end, true success, recognition, wealth, and fulfillment found him naturally. This teaches us that when we focus on genuinely mastering our craft and following our passion, external rewards often follow without being the primary goal. The flaws of the traditional education system. The film was a fierce critique of rote learning and the pressure cooker environment. It championed curiosity, critical thinking, and practical application over memorization and competition. The students who truly thrived were those, like Rancho, who dared to question, to innovate, and to learn for the sheer joy of it, rather than out of fear of failure. The indomitable power of true friendship. The unbreakable bond between Rancho, Farhan, and Raju was the emotional core of the film. They stood by each other through thick and thin, through despair and triumph. Their loyalty, their willingness to sacrifice for one another, and their mutual support in pursuing their dreams demonstrated that genuine friendship is an invaluable treasure, far more precious than any material success. The courage to break free from societal expectations. Farhan's decision to defy his father and pursue photography, and Raju's ultimate choice to shed his fears and embrace his true self, were powerful testaments to breaking free from pre-written scripts. The film encourages viewers to listen to their inner voice, to pursue their true calling, even if it means going against family pressure or societal norms. All is well, the mantra of resilience. More than just a catchy phrase, all is well became a philosophy of confronting fear with calm and optimism. It taught the characters and the audience that believing in a positive outcome, even in the direst circumstances, can unlock inner strength and clarity of thought, allowing solutions to emerge where panic would otherwise prevail. The reunion of the three friends, now mature men, each on a path true to themselves thanks to Rancho's influence, was a deeply emotional moment. Farhan, a successful wildlife photographer, had found his true calling. Raju, once consumed by fear, was now a confident, thriving engineer, free from the shackles of anxiety. And Rancho, the enigmatic genius, was living his dream, building a school that truly nurtured curiosity and innovation. Their story, told through the lens of a beautiful, inspiring friendship, leaves us with an enduring message. Success is not defined by grades or bank accounts, but by the pursuit of excellence, the courage to follow your passion, and the unwavering bond of true friends. The saga of Three Idiots is a vivid reminder that the most profound lessons are often found not in textbooks, but in the most unexpected corners of life, whispered by a rebel with a smile, encouraging us all to embrace our own hidden pages and write our unique, fulfilling stories. The Ultimate Three Idiots. Saga. A final lesson. A story that endures. And with that, dear friend, we turn the final page on the extraordinary saga of Three Idiots. You've journeyed alongside Farhan, Raju, and Rancho, experiencing their laughter, their struggles, and their triumphs. You've witnessed how a simple philosophy, all is well, and the pursuit of genuine understanding can transform lives. This wasn't just a movie recap. It was an immersion into a world where courage, friendship, and the passion for learning illuminate the path to true fulfillment. At Hidden Pages, our greatest joy is to open these cinematic storybooks, revealing the wisdom, the beauty, and the profound lessons that lie within. The tale of Three Idiots is a powerful testament to the idea that success isn't just about what society expects, but about finding your own unique melody, nurturing your own dreams, and creating a life that is truly, authentically yours. It reminds us that friendship is a treasure beyond measure, and that the greatest education comes from curiosity and the courage to think for ourselves. As you go forth, carry the spirit of Rancho with you. Dare to question. Dare to dream. And always remember, pursue excellence, and success will follow, chasing you like a shadow. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable adventure through the hidden pages of cinema. If this story touched your heart, please mark your page by liking this video. Subscribe to Hidden Pages for more captivating tales and inspiring journeys, and share your favorite life lesson from 3 idiots in the comments below. Until our next story unfolds, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep turning those wonderful hidden pages of wisdom.